the network architect, the data center technologies and a lot. So I was exposed to security as one of the technologies that we have in IT, and I also just developed an interest in security generally. And, I decided to dive into it. And yes, that's how I got into security. Talking about what a typical day looks like in my firm. Um, so for me, with security, there's always something to do. There's never been a time where you say you will go back and relax and say, you've done everything. And also one of my primary responsibilities is to make sure that the company is safe. One of the things I tell people is that as looking at the kind of company or the kind of business model that we run, there are two things that bring risks to the business. One is that we leverage on technology to provide services to our customers. Two is that we're in a financial institution, so there's a whole lot of things to be done. And security has different branches. You have application security, you have network security, you have cybersecurity risk governance. So I work with the different members of my team to make sure that our um, our quarterly objective is being met, and yeah, I think that's about it. That's about it. Basically, just trying to make sure that I keep the organization safe from the threats and attacks that we face as an institution.
Thank you very much, Olalu, for that extensive introduction. So we'll just get right into why we are here. We're in the last month of the year, and it is during times like this that scammers take advantage of special days or major events like Christmas, Black Friday to defraud people out of their money and personal information. So I'm going to ask, how can people who are shopping for gifts, gifts online for lovers, family, friends, booking holiday travel, the rich people among us, looking for holiday jobs or trying to donate to charities, how can one tell which one is safe, which one is scam, which one to, avoid? Chime, this question is for you.
All right. Yeah, the Ember months. I think from for a very long time, I think even in our childhood, at least we millennials, those that have heard of the Ember months, they've always been so-called perilous times. And interestingly, this has carried on beyond just, and those are times when, you limit the places you go to, you try to ensure you take maximum precautions. And interestingly, in the information technology space, it's the same thing. Every time, and if you look at your data, you see that number of threats go up, reported attacks go up. It's always like the hottest time, and for several reasons. These bad guys too, just like you have your own targets. You want to be a baller by December. They too want to be ballers by December. So they sort of have their own ecosystem, because if you understand the way these bad actors work, they have their own ecosystem, they have their own motivation. And then a lot of things have transitioned from attackers being just driven by jokes to being driven by financial gain. So the Ember months are usually when you see that there is like an increase in this sort of attacks. And in terms of being safe, it's necessary to take the highest level of precautions at this time, because there's an increase in number of this type of attacks. In terms of probability, the likelihood to fall has increased. So it's necessary we take maximum precautions. Speaking around shopping, gift cards, the first thing would be that always stick to what you've known. Avoid news sites are usually it's very easy to, these news sites are usually the main tools that bad actors use. Newly registered domains. So anytime an attacker wants to do stuff, they newly register the domain, and then usually because they're reported, they get taken down very fast. So always stick to the known, and then you sort of start seeing these emails coming, trying to nudge you. It's very important that you always stop, right? Every time you get something that looks too good to be true, you need to know that it's most likely not true. Once it's too good to be true, avoid it. Nobody wants to sell you an iPhone that costs, say, about $1,500 for $150 when they are not Tim Cook. Even Tim Cook might not give you at that price. So when it's too good to be true, just avoid it. When it's nudging you to take unnecessary action, put in your cart to get this unnecessary giveaway, avoid it. Requesting for your personal details, avoid it. Calls to tell you that confirm this transaction or give me your card details, your card is about to be blocked, avoid it. Those are the basic steps you can take as a person, especially in these auspicious times. Once email is unsolicited, a message is unsolicited, a phone call, because these days it's beyond just emails. The third vectors are not just emails, there are calls. Recently, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, there was a huge attack in Las Vegas that took down one of the major casinos. It started from a phone call, not an email, it started from a phone call. So you always need to be on guard. Highest level of precaution in these times. That would be like a summary of what to do. Maintain guard. These are like perilous times. The money you want to save to ball, someone wants to come and take it, so they will ball on their side. So it's an attack defense thing. Take the highest level of precautions. Unsolicited mails. You did not send anybody from eBay to send you a message. They're sending you a message to quickly do this. Just click on this. Avoid it. That would be my own advice in this environment.
Thank you very much, Chume. Olalu, what do you think companies can do? Because I'm sure there are some people who have, businesses here. What do you think companies can do to also, keep people safe from online scammers during times like this?
Thank you very much, Ebon. At the top of it all, I think that security awareness is very important. And one of the things that I've come to understand is that the average user is oblivious to the sophistication level by which the hackers use in carrying out these attacks. The average user is oblivious to, how skilled the bad actors are. And security generally is not convenient for anyone, so it's always an extra thing to do. There's always an extra thing to do from the norm. And most users are always like, why do I need to take this extra step? It's too much work. I can just do this, I can just do that. So at the top of it, security awareness is very important for businesses, even for individuals. It is important that we promote security awareness, which is similar to what we're doing right now, right? And just like Chime said, unsolicited calls, unsolicited messages, we need to be very careful of unsolicited calls and messages. You get phone calls whereby people are requesting for personal information. There's something called PII, which is personally identifiable information. People requesting for sensitive information about you or your company. We need to be very careful about it. Sometimes you can get calls from a bank, from hackers that are, posing as customer support agents from banks, requesting for such data. We need to be very careful, right? And in terms of security and awareness, there's so much we can learn, as businesses and also as an average user, So yeah, I think with these tips, in addition to what Chime has said, we can also arm ourselves with some knowledge to make sure we are able to spot the red flags when we have encounters with them.
Thank you so much for that. My second question, staying safe in public, with phone calls. Let's talk about that. Personally, I'm guilty of putting calls on speakers because somehow I dread putting the phone close to my skin. Skincare people can relate. And, I still have to be safe. So the question now is, Chime, what's your golden rule for, people like me on staying safe online and offline socially, especially while talking in public or receiving a phone call?
Okay, yeah. Skincare gang, Stay Fresh gang, all that gang. Yeah, it's good, but especially in public. And this will stay in two bits, right? A lot around privacy and a lot about your physical security. If you need to get a Bluetooth headset, if you need to use an earpiece, very important. But your conversations in public, one, you risk a lot of your personal information being out there. And then that's sharing that kind of information. You're not aware who is around you in your surrounding. You don't know who is hearing. You don't know what sort of information that they're being picked up about you. You want to always ensure you release the least amount of information as to anyone external. Like we said earlier, Ember months, you need to take your physical security very, very, very serious. Conversations around work conversations happening in public area are no, especially when you're talking about sensitive stuff. You might not realize it, but you might be releasing information that's your competitive or your company's competitive advantage out there. Information around your plans, personal plans. It may not just only be work, but your personal plans. You don't want to put yourself in harm's way. Understanding the current economic dynamic in the country, you can see that one thing that you've seen over the years is that crime rate goes higher when there is an economic downturn. We see as the Naira is Nairaing. Thank God for Quidax USD savings. I know that a lot has been said on that, but you can say as the Naira is Nairaing, and the impact is on the standard of living on Nigerians. Important to know that middle class, whatever class you are in now, there are people feeling the heat more, and we need to take our physical security serious. Making phone calls in public, ensuring that you need to always ensure that you think about privacy. Olaru mentioned PIIs. Ensure that any information that can be used to identify you is kept private. They are sensitive, they are confidential, they are kept private. Same for company information. If you're using a public workspace, ensure that even if you're making phone calls, you keep the tone down. And then something called clear decks, clear screen. Sensitive documents are not kept around so that privacy, like you said, competitive advantage, and your personal safety is your top priority when it comes to public, not just phone calls, but also working in public.
Thank you very much. So as an aside, I want to do my first giveaway this evening. The first 2 people to drop a comment in the Q&A section get something from me. The first 2 people to get their comments into the Q&A section get something from me. So the next question will be for Olaolu. Recently, a friend got a job offer on LinkedIn, and unfortunately clicked a link. It was a fake job offer. So immediately he clicked the link, he lost his account, and those people behind the link got into his DM, started messaging people to do the same thing that they've done to him. And it was like a ripple effect. So many people lost their LinkedIn account because of that single incident. And what he told me was that he did not set up 2FA. So Olalua, I'm going to ask you this question. What's your pro tip for spotting a phishing email? How do people get that ability to tell when an email is, has a phishing link or a phishing attachment that they should not click on?
Yes, thank you. So this is a very important topic, right? Because, and why I say so is because phishing is one of the social engineering attacks that malicious actors or hackers use in carrying out their cyber attacks, either on businesses or on the average user, right? And the reason why it's been around for a long time, and the reason why it's widely used is because it's capitalizes on human weakness, right? Psychological manipulation, and part of it is because when you get a mail, for example, there are some things that they put in the mail that makes you want to act fast. Oftentimes we get mails that come with a sense of urgency, right? And they want you to do this. For instance, you can get a mail to say, you know what, your PayPal account is going to be blocked because there was a fraudulent transaction on your account. Most people just switch into it and be like, oh, what's happening? What did I do? What did I do wrong? And they tell you, click this or click this to get a support call fast to make sure that your account is not being blocked. And then we're triggered by emotions to do what they want to do because we don't want, the consequence to happen. And by clicking on that link, or, you probably might be downloading a malicious program to your system, So, and social engineering attacks generally can come in many ways, can come as phishing, smishing. There are so many ways. But we talk about some steps some tips that we can use to spot a phishing email, for example. One, you need to check, is there a sense of urgency? Two, unsolicited messages or unsolicited mails. We need to be very careful. What do I mean? Mails that we're not expecting. Mails that you probably don't know the person, but the person is sending you a mail. And when you get a mail, the first thing is not to go about clicking things. That's where a lot of people get it wrong. They get a mail and, you're usually redirected to another site to claim a gift card or to, purchase something for a cheaper amount, and we're so fast, so quick to click on the link. We need to be careful of clicking on links when we get them via mails. We need to be careful of the attachments. When you get a mail, the first thing you need to do is to verify the sender. Do I know who this mail is coming from? Check the header of the sender's address and check. Two, if you know, in the corporate environment, most of the times it's also important that you take an extra step to put a call through to the person and say, look, especially when the email comes and you're requested to carry out a sensitive activity, you want to put a call through to verify that the person, your colleague, is actually who sent the mail, because sometimes your colleague will probably get compromised and they use your colleague's mailbox to send you an email because they know that you would believe that it's from him, right? That's part of the psychological manipulation that I talked about. So we want to check if there's a threat of urgency, a sense of urgency. We want to check if they're using threatening language. Do this now. If you don't do this, we'll block your account, stuff like that. Unrealistic promises. If it's too good to be true, guys, we need to be very careful. You purchase this thing for, half the amount. If it's too good to be true, we need to be very careful. In the past, we also talk about poor grammar. When you get mails and you have mails that come with poor grammatical errors, they are one of the red flags that we use to identify scam mails, because most of these people probably can't speak correct English, or probably they are from a different country entirely and they don't speak English, right? But these days things have changed with the with the involvement of technology. Now hackers use AI tools. They use AI tools to craft out and draft out the mail to make it so believable. The English will be perfect. You barely know that there's anything wrong with the mail, right? So, and that's why we also need to be very careful concerning that unexpected attachment. Download this document, sign this document. We need to be very careful. First of all, verify the sender to know that you're sure. If you're unsure, it is best that you don't click on any link or you don't download any attachment. And if you're in a corporate environment, it's best to report to your IT team and say, look, or your information security team and say, look, I got this email. I'm not sure of the sender. I don't know where it's coming from. Please help me verify. And I tell people, and also when you get links that redirect you to a website, for instance, let's say you get a mail that redirects you to with a link that redirects you to that's supposed to take you to jumia.com, for example. You have an account with jumia.com. I tell people sometimes, if you have an account, the website. Why don't you go to the website yourself and log in yourself? Don't click on links that take you to websites from emails. It can be very risky. So at the top of it all, I think that we need to just be very careful. When you get a mail, the first thing to do is not to click on links, download attachment. No, the first thing to do is to verify the legitimacy of that mail, where it's coming from. Also, don't share your password or don't share sensitive information via mail. It's very important. Even if the recipient is not fraudulent, or is not malicious in any form. There can be, it's possible that the recipient's email can be compromised in the future, and then they go through his inbox and then they see all your data in there and then they use it. They use it, you get compromised, and most people, again, the average user, they're like, oh, why do I need to, set up MFA, 2FA? Why do I need to, it's stressful. Sometimes when they get access to your username and password, for instance, they can also, get access to your accounts, especially when there's no 2FA to block them. And one more thing before I forget, when we click on links, so many things can go wrong. You can download malicious program to your laptop, and there's so many programs nowadays. There's something called info stealers. It's called information stealer. You also have keylogger. Keylogger is an example for information stealer. So basically, once the malicious programs start running on your laptop, every single thing you're typing, they have a copy. You're logging into a site, they have a copy of everything. So nowadays, these cyber attacks are sophisticated, and the big problem is that most of these hackers don't really need to do so much. There are services online in the dark web being sold for things like this. You have phishing as a service tool. You have so many tools that all they just need to do is put in the organization or put in the email address of the user they want to, reach out to, and so many things will just start coming up. So yeah, so I think that with these tips that I've mentioned, we can also we can stay safe in terms of protect ourselves from these threats and attacks that we constantly face, and also in the Ember months as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really explanatory. So you know how you accidentally fall for a phishing scam, and then you probably become a victim of malware. Your phone or your device starts acting funny. Chime, can you tell us what a malware is and what are the signs we should look out for?
Okay, malware. Okay, let's take it. Let's go backwards a bit. With term malware. So I know a lot of people are conversant with virus. I think that that was and virus is like a type of malware. Malware is more like an acronym for malicious software. So, and then there's a whole there are classes of malware. Viruses, very popular from like the early 90s till date. Those are the guys that once they get on your device, typically like the way viruses behave when they get into your body system, your device start acting funny. You can see very telltale signs. Your device becomes slow, it becomes hot. You start having the legendary blue screen of death. You start having those symptoms. For Windows users, they will know what I'm talking about. And then there are a lot more different types of malware. There is spyware. Olaolu had mentioned around keyloggers. Those are types of spyware. They spy on you. They just sit down in your system and then they're collecting your data. They are seeing every single thing you press on your keyboard. They are recording your camera. They are just spying on you. There are backdoors, and then there are Trojans. Typically, backdoors give access to hackers every single time. And so you notice that, and for those that have experienced a compromise before, you don't wipe your laptop before you know it, they keep getting you and you wonder how. So most of the time when there's a compromise, the hacker will want to keep a backdoor. So he keeps coming and keeps getting you. You think you're out of it, but they keep getting you until you do a full wipe. So how can you know when you've been infected by any type of malware? Because there are several types. Interestingly, I want to talk about a very famous one that has really become very popular, which is ransomware. Like it says, ransom and malware. So it's a malware that holds you ransom. Typically, once you're infected by ransomware, you don't need anybody to tell you that you've been infected. Immediately you see is that all your device is encrypted. It asks you to put in an encryption key. For you to get that encryption key, to ask you to pay X amount of BTC. Here's what has happened. They've gotten your data, one, and two is that they've locked you out of your device. So it's a total lockout. And many times, like I mentioned in the case of MGM in Las Vegas, they started from social engineering. using core phishing, and then it transcended to getting the guy to click on a link that installed ransomware. Ransomware went through the entire network, locked down everybody that used to come there to bet, to stake a bet and everything, locked down their data. Nobody could place new bets. And then problem is that it's twofold. They have your data. Problem with data and problem with data now, them having your data is with enough information, I can social engineer you. And I think that's something that Allah has spoken with. Once someone has enough data on you, they can craft things about you so that they are more believable. So that's for ransomware. It's very obvious the moment you've been infected. One time you see you're locked out, your data is taken. The problem is that the risk keeps cascading, it keeps coming up futuristically, even if you pay XBTC, you have the money, you're willing to pay, it's your organization, they want to pay. The problem is that your data is out there. They'll still have you. There is the next line. And like we said, the way you have your organization and you have teams, you have HR, you have marketing, you have whatever team. The same way these people have teams, they sell that data to the next person, then threatens you. You either pay or they don't even care if you pay or not. There are people willing to buy this data at lump sums. And so it's very necessary, like has been mentioned, take necessary precautions to ensure that you don't have any of this malware installed on your devices. Some, like viruses, make your device act funny. Before you know it, it's hot. Before you know it, it keeps shutting down. And then a popular one, which is called adware, whereby you click on stuff and then you just see lots of ads on your browser. You can click on google.com and before you know it, it has opened 1 million ads that you don't know where they come from. These are telltale signs that, you know what, they've gotten into your device. And then it should all the alarm bells in your head should begin to ring at this point. Those are some common signs that you might pick up when you've gotten infected by malware. Problem is that not all of this malware, when you've gotten infected, have signs. Some of them you only see the signs once there's an incident, meaning that there's a breach, your money has been taken. You just see debit alerts, they are gone. Because in cases of backdoors, in cases of spywares, you don't know till they've taken, the end goal has been reached. They've gotten your funds, they've taken your data, and they've sold it. So these are some of the telltale signs, and these are some of the effects of malware.
Thank you so much, Shime. Lalu, my next question goes to you. What else, can we do to prevent? Is there anything you'd like to add to what Shime has said concerning preventing malware infections on our, gadgets or devices?
Yes, there are a couple of things, actually. There are a couple of things. So seeing that we use our devices for, surfing the internet, surfing the web, right? And I mean, you want to access your email, you're probably using your laptop or your phone, right? You want to access a particular site, you're probably using your laptop or your phone, right? There are a couple of things that we need to put at the back of our mind. One of the things I've also mentioned is when we get an email, you should be very careful on clicking on links that are in that email. If we know the website to that particular site that the link is taking us to, it's best that we enter it on a separate browser by ourselves, or we verify the sender. Two is we should be very careful of downloading attachments. In fact, anything that comes from someone that you don't know as the reddest flag. As the reddest flag. Now, the reason why I'm saying these things is because by the time we click on these things, we have malicious programs that, are being downloaded to our systems. And some of them, we probably think that once you have a malware in your system, you start seeing your system is behaving funny. Sometimes your system behaves funny due to resource utilization, but sometimes you don't notice anything. And that's part of the tactics. As a matter of fact, there are some viruses, some malwares that are designed to sleep. They get downloaded on your laptop and they just sleep. They just act dormant. because they have an idea that you probably have antiviruses, anti-malwares on your systems that are designed to study behavioral patterns. What's this software trying to do on the laptop, and arrest it. So they try to evade detection. They try to find a way to, avoid detection by any anti-malware or antivirus that might be installed. So the first thing to do is prevention. Prevention is better than cure, as you normally hear. Also, we need to keep our operating system up to date, our antivirus softwares up to date. Having an antivirus software on your phone, on your laptops is crucial. Your operating system, if you're using an Apple device, if you're using an Android device or Windows or whatever, the manufacturers release these updates because they're probably taking care of some vulnerabilities that are associated with the previous versions of their operating system, right? Now, these hackers know some of them try to exploit that vulnerability. By updating your systems, your laptops, your laptop OS, your phone OS, you are making sure that, even if a hacker tries to leave it on a vulnerability that is associated with the previous release of the software, you're not going to be affected. So it's important. Three, sorry. Make sure that you download apps from legit app stores. If you're using the Apple device, for example, make sure that you're downloading from Apple Store, App Store. If you're using the Android device, make sure you're downloading from Play Store. The reason is because they've designed the App Store and the Play Store to do some sort of due diligence on the products that are being, or the applications that are being advertised on their platform. So by doing that, at least you're saving yourself some headache. Like I also mentioned, be careful of open attachments from unverified senders or people that you don't know. Check the applications that you currently have on your phone and your laptops frequently for those ones that you're not using. If you're not using any platform, you subscribe to a particular platform, but you're not using it, delete it. There's no reason why it's there. Of course, I mentioned use antivirus, be careful of clicking on links, and also USB drives. One of the easiest way to spread malware, to your devices. Be careful of USB drives. As a matter of fact, don't put any USB drive that is not your own. Don't put any USB drive that's not your own. If you have a USB drive or a pen drive and you're using it to transfer data, be careful. Make sure that your antivirus scans the drive first before you open the drive. That's one of the easiest ways to spread malware files, across different devices. Also, practice safe web browsing. What do I mean? A lot of us have access to the web, obviously. There are some sites that you go to that can create an entrance for malware to be downloaded to your laptops or to your devices. For instance, file sharing sites, torrent sites. You're downloading files, you're downloading movies, betting sites, gaming sites. There's a pop-up ad somewhere, click, win a free crypto, blah, 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 blah. So many things. You click on one of those links and they are put there because file sharing site, nobody's betting them, right? I can as well upload a particular movie, put it in a folder, put a malware there, upload it on any file sharing site. Some people will download that stuff, and once you download it on your system, the stuff starts manifesting in the background. You don't know. Also, talking about verifying the sender of the email, of messages that you get, the email address, the emails that you get, right? Verify the sender, check the domains. There's something called email address spoofing. What do I mean? For instance, if Chime has an email that says chime@quidax.com, there's a way that these guys have gotten creative that they can craft that Chime, put Chime has one E at the back of M, right? Put double E there. But because you're not alert enough, you probably just think, oh, it's from Chime, I know Chime. And then you just interact and you just, give in. Before you know it, you've clicked on a link and you've created some sort of backdoor to a command and control center whereby they're extracting data from you. You don't know, and while we preach about carrying out preventing steps, they might seem difficult, but at the end of the day, it will really give you a fighting chance in protecting yourself and arming yourself. Preventing is far, far better. Now, let's say for whatever reasons, this malware gets downloaded to your system, they've stolen some data, they've stolen some credentials. The other things that can save is ensuring that across multiple platforms, you're not reusing your password. Never reuse password across multiple platforms. Because what does that mean? If I know your password to your email address, for instance, and let's say you've used it across multiple platforms, your Instagram is the same username, which is your email and that password, your Facebook account, your LinkedIn, everything, your bank account, everything. Avoid reusing the same password. Let's try to create multiple passwords for different platforms. 2, MFA. Your corporate platforms, your personal platforms, always ensure that MFA is turned on. MFA is one of the basic security control or measure that you can put in place. It's very basic, but it can be very effective. Because imagine something happens, I steal your credentials, username and password, and I'm trying to log in, and then it prompts me for a code, and I'm stuck, right? Even though these days, with reverse engineering and everything, some MFAs can still be bypassed, So the recommendation nowadays is to move from software-based MFA like you have on your Google Authenticator or your Microsoft Authenticator app and move to hardware-based MFA, the one with the bank token. If you're familiar with bank tokens, but not everyone can afford that. So at least for the ones that we can do, at the minimum, let's make sure that apart from paying attention to the preventive tips, the tips that we can put in place in preventing malware infections. Even if malware gets downloaded, they've stolen our credentials and everything, they want to gain access to some of the platforms that we currently manage. Let's make sure that we're not reusing password across those platforms, and let's make sure that we've enabled MFA across all those platforms. So I think that these few tips can help us prevent malware infections and also, reduce the risk that can come to like some sort of account compromise or financial loss. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ramima. So I'm going to ask you another question on, recognizing misinformation and deepfakes with how people have access to AI now. People are using on TikTok, people use Drake's voice to sing portable lyrics, or you see videos of Barack Obama speaking Igbo, and deepfakes are what people use in disguising. How can we unmask them? How can we tell that if it's really our boss or our mom or our sibling or someone who's close to us, like sending a voice note to us or calling us to quickly transfer money to them, they're in a fix and they need like urgent money? How can we be aware of things like this? How can we tell that this is not the person I think it is? How can people tell that?
Yes, to be honest, I must be honest with you, it's a very difficult one, right? And why do I say that? Is because we have technologies, like AI technology has its benefits, as we all know, right? But unfortunately, the hackers have, exploited so many ways to use it to their advantage. Like I said the other day, AIs are being used to write malicious programs. AIs are being used in generative AI platforms like ChatGPT, for example, are being used to write phishing messages, with very good English and everything, right? And now what we're finding, if you notice on Snapchat, right, there's a way that you can mask someone else's face on my face and then make some funny, make some funny conversations or say some things on Snapchat, right? Now, with the combination of AI and deepfake technology, what basically happens there is that, just like you mentioned, Barack Obama, for example, hackers have the ability to pick a person's voice, to engineer a person's voice and, take their face and match it together. What does it mean? So that means I can pose to be Bin Laden, for example. It doesn't matter that I'm a Black person. I can pose to be Bin Laden. I have my speech that I want to give out, and I recite a couple of things to the public with Bin Laden's face and all of that, right? And then it might be used for political reasons. It might be used to spread disinformation on the social media platform, and as you all know, anything that goes on social media is spread like wildfire, right? A lot of people don't, a lot of people just swallow it and take it and repost it and everything. So it's a difficult one, but there are still some things that we can, use to advantage to recognize or to spot that there's something funny with this. First of all, we see a video, that looks like if there's something wrong with the graphics of the video, the way the video is being done, if it doesn't look clean, that might be a pointer to, a red flag that something is up somewhere. Also, when news are being publicized on social media platforms, sometimes it's very important that we go after the source. Let's try to know on which platform, which news outlet is putting out this news. Is it a verified news outlet, or is it just one random link that nobody really knows about? We also talk about fact checking. This person is making so many claims. Is saying that this is this. Is there a way that we can corroborate the story with another story that must have happened or that's being released on another verified news channel, right? And so basically, and just in context of the corporate environment, for instance, you get a phone call from a boss saying that, or a video recording saying that, what, I want you to transfer XYZ amount of money to so organization and stuff like that. Sometimes if we're trying to, to be extra cautious, one of the things that we can do is to try and ask the question. Let's say, for instance, Chime is my boss and he's telling me to do something, that is quite sensitive. And I'm not sure, I have some reasons to disbelieve that it's actually from Chime. It's coming from his phone number, it's coming from his, social media accounts that I know. One of the things that I can do is to ask Chime the particular information that I know that will not be out there available publicly, or probably to speak in his dialect or something, or ask some sort of information that I know that is just between both of us. So there are so many things that we can try to use to our advantage as well. Because one thing that you need to understand is this technology leverages on AI, leverages on data that is already on the internet. So best believe for them to want to mask Jimmy, they've already gone through the internet and sift through all of Jimmy's data on the internet. And there's a lot of data about everyone on the internet. You post on LinkedIn, you post on Facebook, you post on this. They know your siblings, they know your family, they know the school you went to, so many things. They know your organization, your role in the business. They know who you report to, who are your team members. So many information about everybody, unfortunately. But these are some of the things that we can do. Try to verify the sources, try to fact check the information that is being put out there, and try to, like in the place of the corporate environment, try to ask the person that is calling us, about the particular information that we believe that won't be out there. So, technology is still evolving. We're still learning as well. So, but I think that these few tips can, help us identify some of the red flags and minimize the risk associated with these threats that are out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Olaluwa. Chime, my next question is for you. So quickly, can you tell us what the recipe for a strong password should look like? How can we use? We've spoken a lot about using strong passwords, and we have like an individual probably has at least 20 apps on their phones that require passwords. How can we maintain security with passwords on these apps, on our Quidax app, banking apps, social media apps? How can we use that double layer of protection with multiple factor authentication on these apps that have sensitive info? How do we go about creating strong passwords for these apps?
Okay. I think one thing that comes to my mind is I think there was one post on our social media handle that said stop reusing passwords, and then I saw one of the comments on that post, and the person was like, now you go help me remember when I forget my password. So yeah, that was an interesting one, and I think I now I sort of understood where it was coming from. But like Olaolu had tried to explain, or had explained, the problem with reusing your passwords is, for example, if you had a key, right? It comes in a bunch. They are all the same key. And for every time you go somewhere, you needed to use that key. So it's the same key you use in your house, the same key you present to your bank for them to pay your money, same key you present to your dad for him to give you your inheritance, same key you give to Yabasira for her to give you food. That's what using the same password is. The problem is the way your bank will take care of that key is not the way Yabasira will take care of it. And like I'm putting it, there are certain sites that are not so secure. The first time I witnessed this firsthand was like 2014. 2014, still a bit careless, and I was reusing my passwords. And for the first time, I witnessed what it meant to be breached, to be on that side of the divide. And then you notice that because you're using the same password across board, and in reality, on the internet, nobody is coming to check, especially sites that don't do additional level of authentication. Nobody's coming to ask, is this really Chime? Is this really Olaolu? Once you provide a user, an email, and a password that matches what is on the record, it says it's you. So your identity for a lot of these services are tied to just 2 numbers. And imagine reusing those numbers everywhere. And then you're wondering why, oh, they've gotten access to that place you keep your bank accounts. They've gotten access to your crypto wallets. They've gotten access to your email. It's because it's the same password across. And like was posted, do not reuse the same password. It's such a huge risk. But here and this is the thing about passwords, right? And for the nerds that want to read around passwords, there's something called entropy, which means the entropy of a password is how easy it is for it to be guessed, or rather how difficult for it to be guessed, how difficult for it to be brute forced, and how difficult for it to just by doing research, getting your password. And this is how to get a good password entropy. Gradually, I know in early days, you must use eight characters. All of a sudden, we are no more hearing 8, we are hearing 12. For the nerds again, Moore's law. Moore's law states that processing power doubles every 2 years, meaning that it's easier to break your password every 2 years. The force or the amount of computing power available to break passwords has doubled. Let's leave the complex part. So how do you make your password easy to... So you've heard 8, now they're saying 12. Now, gradually you're saying that it's 16. It's going to keep increasing because the ability to break it, the bad guys are getting stronger. You need to double your hustle. You need to also ensure that you double your defense. Passphrase. Gradually, people are transiting from passwords to passphrase. Passphrase is, instead of saying your password is password 2023, you gradually move to your password is I like Nigeria, tomorrow is going to be great, 2024, 100%, ABC. So you create words out of it, and then that way you have strength, because in password entropy, the most important thing is the length of the password. And that's why passphrases that say, I love Quidax, they are my crypto body, and just by changing the Y to a number, adding one special character gives so much strength. And you always remember that you love Quidax, they are your crypto body. I love Quidax, they are my crypto body. Very long, you'll never forget it. Now, you have several of these sites. What do? Highly recommend using password managers. There are several out there. An interesting and part of for individuals, an interesting password manager is there's Google Password Manager that they've recently released, and for the iOS and Mac users, there is Keychain. Those easily automatically generate and manage your password. But if you work for a company, they have a specific one that means their policy comply. But these are easy ways to, you know what, they'll always give you different passwords. And for Android, Windows, even iOS and Mac users, they will, if it's Google password, it will sync across your device with the email account. If it's iOS and Mac, Keychain will sync across. Easy way. And then, like Olaolu mentioned, multi-factor authentication. Now, this gives additional strength. Instead of just saying someone being able to provide your user and your password, there is now an additional step. It asks them for something. And then there are different types of this. But just to chip in, there is what is called, but over time, I don't know if everyone heard about the Uber hack last year. the Uber hack, they had 2FA. There's something called MFA fatigue, and this is one of the weaknesses of a type of MFA that is called push. So there are MFA that use push notification, and what they did is that they stress this staff to death. The hacker, and that's why I said, these guys, this is their hustle. You work 9 to 5, this is their own 9 to 5. They just kept pressing push, push, push. The staff got frustrated. And what the guy did was that the hacker put a call across to the guy and said, you know what, if you don't accept this, we are from IT, just accept it. And the guy just accepted it. And that's how an organization as big as Uber was taken down. There was MFA. So there are several MFA. Pick phishing resistant MFA. Hardware keys are phishing resistant. This doesn't change the need for security training, because it has been seen that in technology, no matter the security you put in place, people are always the biggest weakness. So in password, passphrases is the way to go. And then when you have a lot of accounts, think of password managers and then multi-factor authentication.
Thank you so much, Chime. Can I have a round of applause for our guest in the comment section? Let's give them a round of applause. You agree with me that this has been insightful so far. I'm going to ask another question before we round up. Chime, this question is for you. For keeping our mobile devices and apps safe, what's your prescription? What would you recommend for keeping our mobile devices, our apps that we have on them? How do we keep them safe? Just to round up this AMA before I go over to allow you to ask my last question.
Okay. So mobile devices, laptops, iPads, your desktop, all these are devices that we use to interact with the internet. And the internet is typically the Wild West. So these guys are like the portal for you to access the Wild West. We need to ensure that they have the highest level of security. So first is this: they need to always be up to date. You know not the time or the day that these people have discovered bugs, loopholes, weaknesses, and then what the operating system OEMs, people like Windows, Apple, Android, they release what is called a patch. So every time that something is discovered in the wild, maybe a hacker finds a weakness in this system that they can use to get into your device, they release something called a patch. So automatic updates helps to ensure that you get these patches on time. Because what happens is that once all these loopholes are known, it's called the wild. On the dark web, they know this. They're looking for vulnerable devices to exploit it. It's always very fast. So first is ensure that your devices are kept up to date at every time. If you need to enable automatic updates, please do so. That's the first part of it. Ensure that your devices are always kept up to date. And this also speaks to your applications, your apps. Like Olaolo has mentioned, if you're not using an app, please ensure you uninstall it. I discovered one day one of the crypto apps I used to use had been compromised, and then they were using that app to breach devices. And this brings to the next conversation. When it comes to mobile apps, please ensure you download from the App Store. Once it's not on the App Store, whether it's Google App Store, the official App Store, you stand the risk of downloading devices that can introduce malware. Remember when we talked about malicious software? So ensure that you're only downloading apps from the official store. Next is ensure that security, you have a password on your device. Don't have your device, don't use devices without passwords. It gives, one, chance to breach privacy, two, chance to install malicious software randomly, and then usually when malicious software wants to install, because they usually require admin privileges, if you have authentication or a password on it, it's easier to, it doesn't automatically uninstall. It will ask for that authorization. Also, finally, anytime you have apps that you're not using, delete them. don't keep them so that you don't run into those issues. If you're connecting to public Wi-Fi, ensure that you use a VPN. Do not open your financial applications over public Wi-Fi. Some people, one of my early introduction to security was using a tool called Cain and Abel. And then with a tool like Cain and Abel, you can sniff on a wireless network. God save you, there is no encryption on it. And then all your credentials, that's username, password, can be seen in plain text. So always ensure that if you're doing anything on a public network, you use a VPN to ensure that level of encryption. Those are like easy, basic steps. Keep your device up to date, keep your apps up to date, install from the official app store, have a proper password, ensure the firewall is turned on. You're using public Wi-Fi, ensure you use a VPN, and then all the other things that have been mentioned earlier. Don't click on links to ensure that your device is not compromised. Where possible, have an antivirus software running on your system. These are like easy tips to ensure that our mobile devices are kept secure.
Thank you very much, Chime. So my last question for Olalua. Now that we are, rounding up the year, there's going to be parties, hangouts, and for people who work remotely, go to a coffee shop, they want to use the free, and sometimes these people, they use free Wi-Fi, fast Wi-Fi to draw in people. So any words of wisdom for people who use Wi-Fi at coffee shops, hotels, shotlets, or any other places? Something to add on to what Chime has said.
Yes, thank you. And I mean, before I became a security professional, I mean, just like every average, user, free Wi-Fi is a good thing, right? I want to save my data. So most people jump on free Wi-Fi at any chance they get. Is free Wi-Fi. What do we mean by free Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi that doesn't have username and password is free for all to connect, But the truth of the matter is, with free Wi-Fi, there are dangers lurking. And, I want you to believe us when we tell you there are dangers lurking. There's a type of attack that is being used with Wi-Fi. It's called man-in-the-middle attack. So what basically happens is, of course, there's a device that is transmitting the Wi-Fi signal. There's you with your laptop or your mobile phone, browsing the web, accessing multiple platforms on the internet, accessing multiple accounts. And then there's a device in the middle that is basically recording every single thing that is coming from every single device. Trust me, those devices, and with the help of some software, they are able to rearrange the session coming from each user, and every single thing that you're typing in English, to what sites, they can make sense of it and they can steal it. So it's called man in the middle. They insert themselves between you and the Wi-Fi device to make sure that before you get to that site, that website that you're going to, you're sending data, they're copying the data. You type in your username and password to log into platforms, they're downloading everything. And then a lot of people get compromised and they figure out, how did they get me? How did they get me? It's not some strange thing, And the truth of the matter is that these devices or softwares are available on the dark web for very cheap prices, as low as $10, $20, So, and trust me, the hacker that is motivated will look at it. Even if I have to spend $100, I know how much I can get, from this. They are always motivated. So avoid free Wi-Fi, avoid public Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is in coffee shops, restaurants. It doesn't matter whether it has username and password. It doesn't matter whether it's protected, whether they need to give you the credentials to log in. The truth of the matter is, you don't know what's going on at the background. You don't know where the Wi-Fi installation is done. You don't know what devices are there. So avoid it. Avoid Wi-Fi at the airports. Avoid free Wi-Fi at the airports. That's the first thing. Now, if you must, so avoid free Wi-Fi. It's better to use your mobile data. Or if you need to carry out a sensitive action, wait till you get home, you log into the Wi-Fi at your home, where you know that you know the devices that are there. Now, if you must use free Wi-Fi, always make sure that you have a VPN installed. There are two tools that an average user should have. One is a VPN. Two is a password manager. There are a couple of password managers out there. You have Dashlane, You have LastPass. Some of them offer free, give users free. They have free plans, meaning you don't have to pay. A couple of us store our passwords on browsers. That is very dangerous because there are websites that track our data, especially with the cookies and everything that they put in there, that they can use to collect those data, right? So storing passwords on your web browsers is a dangerous thing to do. So if you must, what you should do is you should have an application installed on your laptop or your phone called a password manager where you store your password and everything, and where it automatically generates anytime you want to log into a site. So you don't need to remember passwords. Today, I have probably close to 50, 60 passwords, and each of them are 40 characters, but I don't know them. I don't have to know them. So that is one. VPN. Now, talking about public Wi-Fi safety, VPN, make sure that you're using a VPN if you must connect to a public Wi-Fi. Avoid public Wi-Fi, use your mobile hotspot or the Wi-Fi at home. And also, even when you're connecting via VPN, what does VPN do? VPN basically encrypts your data from your own device over to the website. Let's say, for instance, you're trying to get to CBN's website, for example. It encrypts your data from, or you're trying to get to GT Bank. It encrypts your data from your device to GT Bank. So if peradventure there's any device in the middle that is trying to sniff, because that stuff is encrypted, they will not be able to decrypt the information. That's what VPN does, and that's why it's crucial. Try as much as possible not to log into sensitive stuff when you're connecting, even when you're connecting to public Wi-Fi using a VPN and all of that. If you have an alternative, get to where you're going to or use your mobile data, and browse with caution, of course. Be careful of what you're browsing when you're connecting to mobile, to public Wi-Fi. So I think to give a summary, let's try and avoid public Wi-Fi as much as possible. But if we must, use a VPN, and let's try to avoid, accessing sensitive sites even on VPN, even on public Wi-Fi as much as we can. Yeah, so those are some useful tips that we can remember whenever we are interacting with public Wi-Fi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Olaolu and Chume. This has really been insightful and helpful. Let's give a virtual round of applause once again to our security gurus, Chime and Olaolu. 2 hands in the air for you. I'm raising my hands up for you. Well done, and thank you so much for joining us. To everybody who has joined us today, please remember to stay safe, online and offline. The devil is working hard, and scammers are working harder. You have to be as careful as much as you can. And please remember, we are currently running a BTC raffle. Every day you get to win 50K, and all you have to do is trade at least $1 to buy BTC on Quidax, and you get to win 50K. There's going to be a daily raffle, and at the end of the week, if you're able to trade more than $100, you get to win an iPhone 15. Very, very easy. And if you have questions, you have comments, you can reach us at support@quidax.com. That's our official support email. And across every social media channel, we are Quidax Global. No full stop, no commas, no semicolons, nothing, just Quidax Global. And if anybody messages you on WhatsApp to say you want something, or you have to reach them on Telegram or WhatsApp, although we have a Telegram community in our bio across our social media channels, you need to verify if the person is really from Quidax. So you can send us a DM on our official channels to verify. Thank you so much for joining us. So for our giveaway winners, I'm going to call their names, and once I mention your name, expect an email from us. We're not going to, you'll be able to tell that from us because we're going to use our official email. First on the list is Chisom Ukaibu. Sorry if I'm murdering your name. I'm so sorry. Chisom Ukaibu, Kolawole Sherifdin, Chinedu Onye Jemeni. I'm so sorry if I'm calling the name. Then Kenny Felix, Prince Modebelu, Adedamola Adeshokon, and Benjamin Oluwole. A round of applause. So Chisom is getting a giveaway from me because they came early, and I like people who stick to time. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. This recording will be sent to you, and you can find it on our Facebook as well. See you next time. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.